Before we installed Connect and started down the pathway from Connect, some of our biggest challenges were communicating all of the details on insertion orders down to our publishers, and then getting them to easily and quickly respond back to us, whether it's to accept the insertion order or make modifications. The biggest challenge we were running into before Connect, because we're not connected to an ad server, was getting first-party data back. The best part about Connect initially, in addition to the insertion order communication, is being able to go ahead and get their first-party data back so we can check the pacing of all of the insertion orders. I think we ultimately chose Connect because we are a standalone instance of Operative One, and as I mentioned before, we're not connected to individual publisher ad servers. And so we were always relying on them to give us information on max avails, whatever their taxonomy was, and sometimes we didn't necessarily put them into our system consistently. So we decided to choose Connect first and foremost so we could connect to them and have that electronic pathway between us and our publishers. The second is because a number of our publishers are also Operative One customers. We collectively sell top premium digital advertising, so we work with programmers and MVPDs in order to sell insertion orders or in order to sell products that are video oriented, and many of our customers are already using Operative One as their base of operations for their publishing businesses. There are a number of different ways that it is improved, but I think the biggest way first and foremost was for us to use the exact same taxonomy as all of our publishers. Our sales and operations process before Connect was really predicated on the design and the applications that sold linear and traditional media. And so we were trying to push that into our Operative One instance. When we finally got Connect, we got to see on the other side how our publishers built out their taxonomy, talked about workflow processes, and most importantly, how we were able to go ahead and exchange data like first-party information on our IOs. So it really helped us move away from thinking of our digital business as just a modified linear business, and actually allowed us to have that conversation using a structured, let's call language, in the Connect platform so that we could trade the IOs back and forth without necessarily creating structures from linear and trying to push them into the digital platform of Operative One. Once we went down the pathway with Connect, we have found an incredible improvement in our relationship with the publishers, because for the first time we were sitting around the table speaking a language that was the same. Previously, it was almost like we were talking two different languages, and the way that we put in an insertion order into our Operative One instance was literally different than the way that they put it into their instance, because what we were doing was basically taking our IO and then emailing it back to them for them to go ahead and either import or type that in. When we went to Connect, it was as if we were seeing the exact same thing from two different angles. In addition to improving the communications and the relationship with current publishers, Connect allowed us to go ahead and onboard a new publisher who was going on to Operative One right away. So instead of trying to figure out the nomenclature and the taxonomy between two different Operative One instances, we both stood up our instances to represent their inventory and their taxonomy in the exact same way that they did instantaneously. And it really helped us go from basically 0 to 60 in a much quicker time frame than if we would have not been using Connect. I would definitely recommend Connect to an industry peer for two reasons. First, because we're all in a relationship, and mostly because we represent publishers, most of my industry peers are publishers, and that will allow us to go ahead and represent their products and their digital campaigns more seamlessly. The second reason I would recommend Connect is because the more people who participate in building this thing out, and the more of us who are in there managing our business through Connect, the better that we are going to be able to represent premium video advertising inside of the advertising community and among all of the publishers who want to kind of move into this space. My favorite part, single favorite part of op-ed, now having gone to it 3 years in a row, is the fact that we're bringing all of my industry peers and the leaders within the industry for specific publishers or people who represent those publishers. And we get an opportunity to talk about the capabilities that we have and how we can make it better. That would be the single best part about it. The other part about it is that we're not just sitting here in op-ed and talking to ourselves or talking to our peers inside an isolated bubble. We're bringing in outside thinkers, so people from Morgan Stanley as an example, Forrester, giving us insights on where the industry is evolving, how we can fit into there more effectively, and more importantly, how we can work together to make sure that we build the future. When you attend op-ed, you create those connections to people that you see face to face, whether it's at a session, at a meal, or over drinks, and you know that you can always contact them via phone or Skype or email and be able to go ahead and, once you've broken down those barriers, feel comfortable having a discussion about what they're doing, what you could do, or the problems that both or either of you are facing. As we leave op-ed, I feel like I and my team are able to go ahead and face the next 12 months, understanding where most of the industry is going and getting background on some perspectives, like I said earlier, that are brought to this conference from other people like Forrester and Morgan Stanley, so that we can walk out there with confidence, understanding a little bit more or a lot more about where digital is going, and especially where premium digital video advertising is going.